1/3 of all the living creatures in the sea died. Because 1/3 of all the salt water now has been turned to blood. The fish, the things that live in the sea cannot live. They have to have water to live in. They can't live in blood. So 1/3 of them is going to die. They will be washed upon the shores. And I don't know if any of us ever smelled fish when it's rotten. But imagine 1/3 of all the living creatures in the sea dead, washing up upon the sea. We get 80% of our oxygen from the ocean, from the plankton that's in the ocean. 25% of that will be reduced. We will, not us, because we're the church. Church is out of here by now. But the people that's on the earth at this time, they will have trouble breathing. Because 25% of their oxygen intake will be gone. And it says 1/3 of the ships that's in the sea will be destroyed. Our 6th and 7th naval fleet, that's where they're stationed. Russia has many ships in that area. Just naval ships alone, it would be more than 200 million men that would lose their lives. Then it said the third angel, verse 10. The third angel sounded, and a star fell from heaven, burning like a torch. This is more than likely a meteorite coming through. The scholars tells us, the scientists tell us that there's over 1,800 meteors that come into our atmosphere every second. But they're burned up as soon as they come in. Because this is God's creation, this earth. And if you'll look at Mars and the moon and the other planets, how they have been pelted and riveted by craters. But the earth is God's creation. He not only created that, He sustains us. That the meteorites burn up when it hits the atmosphere of the earth. Now at this time, what happens? If God just steps back 1/3 and lets these meteorites, lets these asteroids come through. And say, if this is the way you want to live, let me give you a little taste of what hell is going to be like. And it said that the name of this star was wormwood. And by the way, in the book of Job, it tells us that God knows the name of every star. This one is named wormwood. Last week, Mr. Castle said that the scientists have discovered a great asteroid up in the orbit, and they named it wormwood. Isn't that something? Wormwood is a plant or an herb that is poisonous. And it's related to our sagebrush family. But it's very poisonous. And it says that 1/3 of the rivers and the waters become wormwood. Now we've already had 1/3 of the salt water turn to blood. Now 1/3 of the fresh water that we need to survive. They're now turned to poison for the people who dwell upon this earth right now. And it said that many men died of these waters because they were made bitter, poison. Our fresh water at this time is poison. Then the fourth angel sounded, 1/3 of the sun was struck. 1/3 of the moon, 1/3 of the stars. So that 1/3 of them was darkened. We're only going to have 1/3 of daylight. And the stars only going to be 1/3 of them's not going to shine at night. Got to imagine, even if the farmers had enough water, which they don't, to plant their crops, they're not going to have enough sunlight to bring them to harvest. We've already seen famines in the first 6 sealed judgments. Now our food supply, the food supply on this earth right now is going to be even worse. Because there's not going to be enough water, not enough sunshine even to bring them to completion. That's the situation here in chapter 8 that we're looking at. But John said, then I looked and I saw an eagle or an angel flying through the midst of the heaven, saying with a loud voice, woe, 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 to the inhabitants of the earth, because of the remaining blast of the trumpets of the 3 angels who are about to sound. In other words, what John is saying, if you think those 4 were bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. We still have 3 more angels to sound. The 4 that we just talked about is on the ecology. Now these next 3 is unbelievable. And the reason that they were silenced in heaven at the beginning of this chapter, the reason that they were silenced is because even the angels were the redeemed in heaven and the living creatures that was in heaven, they couldn't even believe what they were about to see. And they used them words. It's the first time in the Bible that they, in Revelation, that they used that word. Whoa. 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 Even that right there scares me. Knowing that there's something terrible that's going to come upon mankind. All right, that's all of chapter 8. Let's move right into chapter 9 and get as far as we can with that. Follow along in chapter 9. It said, then the 5th angel sounded, and I saw its star fall from heaven onto the earth. Don't forget this here. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit. And there arose a smoke out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air was darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. And unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men who have not the seal of God in their forehead. And those are the 144,000 we just talked about a few minutes ago that God has sealed. They won't be touched. These locusts ain't allowed to touch them. And it says, verse 5, and to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when he strikes a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it. Shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Then he starts to describe what he sees, what these locusts look like. Verse 7. He says, and the shapes of the locusts was like horses, prepared unto battle. And on their heads were, as it were, crowns like gold. And their faces were like the faces of men. And they had hair like the hair of women. And their teeth was like the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were, breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings were like the sound of chariots, of many horses running to battle. They had tails like scorpions, and they were stings in their tails. And their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, who is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 more woes. Then the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the 6th angel who had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels who are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, who were prepared. Don't miss this. Who were prepared for the hour and day and month and year to slay the 3rd part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen was 200,000. That's 200 million. And John said, I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were like the heads of lions. And out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone.